Hi, I'm Barbara Brimkunis, and this is your Exeter History Minute. So you've decided to declare independence from the mother country. What now? The New England states had a high degree of support for splitting with Britain, but there were still people who thought it was a very bad idea. If you think about it, independence was a pretty big step, almost like a cliff you could fall off of. I mean, no judgment. No one knew how this was going to turn out. People had strong feelings and often tempers flared. Before the committees of safety were created, there were some incidents of mob violence, vigilante justice. But what should be done about the loyalists? And this brings us to something called the association test. Now, I've heard of this mostly because here at the Exeter Historical Society, we do a lot of genealogical work with people, particularly if someone's filling out paperwork to join one of the Revolutionary War genealogy associations, like the DAR, the Daughters of the American Revolution, or the Society of Cincinnati, or Sons of the American Revolution. We're often asked to verify whether an ancestor signed the association test. This is problematic for Exeter, as I'll get to in a minute. Sometimes a signature on the association test is the only proof someone has that their ancestor was living in a particular town in New Hampshire. You might have thought your family always lived in Henniker, but there it is, clear as a bell, great-great-great-great-grandpa's signature on the association test in Stratham. It can be a great genealogical tool, but what was it? To figure out who was committed to the cause of independence and who might not be, the Continental Congress encouraged the various colonies to circulate a loyalty oath. In New Hampshire, these were sent to the towns in April of 1776. All men over the age of 21, and I'm quoting here, idiots, lunatics, and Negroes excepted, were asked to sign. It read, "We, the subscribers, do hereby solemnly engage and promise that we will, to the utmost of our power, at the risk of our lives and fortunes, with arms oppose the hostile proceedings of the British fleets and armies against the United American colonies." The returns came back later in the year, and it was reported that 773 men had refused to sign, but 8,199 did. They really couldn't find one more guy to make it an even 8,200. Now that number of refusals doesn't necessarily mean that there were 773 loyalists in the state. For one thing, a bunch of them left right after the beginning, especially from Portsmouth. They left for Nova Scotia or Great Britain, so they weren't around to sign. Likewise, there were men who didn't sign because they'd already signed up for military duty and were far away from home. A number of towns granted exemptions to members of the Society of Friends, the Quakers, who didn't take up arms. Some men worried that signing the association test meant that they were signing up for immediate military service, so they held back. What happened if you didn't sign and you were definitely a loyalist? Most towns would disarm loyalists. Their guns were seized. They were usually paid for this. Some towns also limited loyalist movement, preventing them from roaming around too much. There was some concern that loyalists might set up a spy network, particularly those in towns on the border with Canada or in the western counties. There weren't too many prosecutions, although there were a few. We'll tell you the story of Exeter's printer Robert Louis Fowle and this printing press coming up soon. I mentioned that the association test is problematic for genealogists researching their Exeter ancestors, and that's because there were 4 pages of signatures, but only one of them has survived. Where did it go? Don't know. Sometimes things just disappear. For more information about Exeter and the Revolution, check our website at www.exeterhistory.org. Where did that go?